The Nexarian diplomatic vessel, Eternal Grace, hung in Earth's orbit like a crystalline dagger, its hull refracting sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. Admiral Zara Chen watched it through the International Space Station's observation deck, her weathered face illuminated by the alien ship's ethereal glow. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared her for this moment, humanity's first contact with an advanced civilization. "They're requesting permission to land at the United Nations," her aide reported, tablet displaying the alien transmission. "Their universal translator is impressive." Zara nodded, unable to shake the unease settling in her gut. The Nexarians had arrived without warning, their ship simply appearing beyond Luna's orbit. Their technology was clearly centuries ahead of humanity's best achievements, yet something about their approach felt wrong. In her experience, true confidence rarely needed to showcase its superiority. The landing was broadcast globally. The Nexarian ambassador, Sarah Val, emerged from their ship like liquid mercury given form. Their iridescent body flowed with impossible grace as they approached the UN Security Council. Billions watched, hearts racing with hope and fear, as humanity stood on the precipice of a new era. "Esteemed representatives of Earth," Sarah Val began, their translated voice carrying an almost musical quality. "The Nexarian Empire extends its greetings and an offer of protection to your developing world." Protection. The word sent a chill down Zara's spine as she watched from the ISS. In her experience, those offering protection were usually selling subjugation. The next few hours proved her right. The Nexarians' offer was simple: Earth would receive access to advanced technology, medical breakthroughs, and faster-than-light travel. In exchange, humanity would merely need to accept their place as a protectorate within the Nexarian Empire, subject to their laws, taxation, and military oversight. "This is not a negotiation," Sarah Val clarified when faced with diplomatic pushback. "It is an opportunity. One which expires in exactly 48 Earth hours." The global response was immediate and unprecedented. Ancient enemies found common ground in their refusal to kneel. Emergency sessions were held in every major government. Zara found herself pulled into high-level Pentagon briefings, where she delivered a simple message: "If they're giving us an ultimatum, they're not our friends." The Nexarians watched Earth's preparations with apparent amusement. Their scans had revealed a species that had barely reached their own moon, whose most advanced weapons still relied on chemical propulsion. Their anthropological reports suggested a divided species, prone to internal conflict. All their data indicated submission was inevitable. They didn't understand that humanity's greatest innovations had always come from necessity. They couldn't comprehend that Earth's divisions made them stronger, not weaker, each culture bringing unique perspectives to problem-solving. They didn't realize that humans had spent centuries imagining and planning for this exact scenario through science fiction. When the deadline expired, Sarah Val's diplomatic mask cracked. "Your primitive species clearly requires a demonstration of power to understand its position." The Eternal Grace fired a single shot, converting the ISS's backup module into atomic vapor. Zara watched from the main module, her expression hardening. The Nexarians expected fear. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous: human ingenuity driven by righteous anger. "Send the signal," she ordered, her voice steady despite the station's lingering tremors. Across Earth, hidden preparations sparked to life. While the Nexarians had been busy delivering ultimatums, humanity had been analyzing every quantum of data their sensors could gather about the alien ship. The Eternal Grace's first warning was a massive surge in electromagnetic readings from Earth's polar regions. Humanity had spent decades building and maintaining early warning systems for solar flares. Now, those same systems, hastily modified with insights gleaned from studying the alien ship's energy emissions, launched a concentrated burst of polar magnetic field energy. The Nexarian vessel's shields, designed to deflect plasma weapons and quantum torpedoes, had no protocols for handling such primitive yet massive electromagnetic forces. Systems flickered, creating a momentary gap in their defenses. That gap was all Earth needed. Thousands of small, stealthy satellites, officially listed as defunct space junk, activated simultaneously. Each contained a simple payload, highly magnetized particles of tungsten dust. As the Eternal Grace's artificial gravity field fluctuated under the electromagnetic assault, it drew in this cloud of metallic debris like a vacuum cleaner sucking up sand. The result was catastrophic. The ship's ultra-precise quantum processors, suddenly exposed to magnetic interference they were never designed to handle, began failing in cascade. Sarah Val's desperate transmission was cut short as their mighty vessel, pride of the Nexarian diplomatic fleet, found itself crippled by technology its creators had considered too primitive to defend against. As emergency pods jettisoned from the dying ship, Zara allowed herself a grim smile. "Send word to the Security Council," she ordered. "Tell them humanity's response to their ultimatum is ready for delivery." The message was simple: Earth would not submit. Not now, not ever. And if the Nexarians wanted a war, humanity would show them exactly why their species had survived every extinction-level threat their planet had thrown at them. The Nexarian Empire had made a crucial mistake. They had assumed technological superiority guaranteed victory. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon had never been their technology, it was their relentless determination to survive and their infinite capacity to adapt their enemies' strengths into weaknesses. As rescue ships approached to collect the escaping Nexarian diplomats, Earth's message to the wider galaxy was clear: underestimate humanity at your own peril. The real war was about to begin, and humans had just proven they could bloody the nose of a galactic empire with technology centuries behind their enemies. The age of human innovation through desperation was about to begin. 6 months after the Eternal Grace incident, Dr. Sarah Rodriguez stood in her underground laboratory, watching humanity's spite take physical form. Around her, a captured Nexarian quantum processor lay dissected, its crystalline components carefully mapped and analyzed. But it wasn't the alien technology that interested her, it was how to break it. Their fundamental mistake, she explained to the gathered military officials, was assuming complexity equals superiority. She gestured to a simple electromagnetic pulse generator, barely more advanced than what humans had in the 1950s. They built quantum computers that can process entire galaxies' worth of data. We built ways to make them stop working entirely. The Nexarian Empire's response to Earth's defiance had been predictable: they sent a battle fleet. What wasn't predictable was finding Earth completely abandoned upon their arrival. No radio signals. No thermal signatures. No signs of the billions of humans who had populated the planet just weeks before. Deep underground, in facilities built during the Cold War and expanded in secret since first contact, humanity had gone dark. They'd learned everything they could about Nexarian scanning technology from the Eternal Grace and developed countermeasures that seemed, to their enemies, laughably primitive. Lead shielding. Analog systems. Mechanical computers. The Empire's sensors, designed to detect advanced energy signatures, were blind to these obsolete technologies. They're scanning for digital signals, Sarah continued, while we're using punch cards and vacuum tubes. They're looking for fusion reactions, while we're using steam engines running on geothermal heat. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. But humanity wasn't just hiding. They were learning, adapting, and preparing. The Eternal Grace had been a treasure trove of advanced technology, and Earth scientists had approached it with a unique perspective. They didn't try to understand how it worked, they focused on how to make it fail. The first demonstration of this philosophy came when the Nexarian fleet began their orbital bombardment of Earth's supposedly empty cities. They expected their energy weapons to reduce human civilization to ash. Instead, their beams hit sophisticated arrays of mirrors and prisms, salvaged from old solar power plants and modified based on studies of Nexarian shield technology. The redirected energy beams sliced through 3 Nexarian destroyers before their commanders realized what was happening. Humanity had turned the very light itself against them, using technology that would have been recognizable to Archimedes. But the real surprise came from what humans had done with the quantum processor technology. Rather than trying to replicate it, they had studied its vulnerabilities. Every Nexarian ship ran on quantum computers that made thousands of decisions per second. Sarah's team had figured out how to make them make the wrong ones. The quantum uncertainty principle isn't just a scientific law, Sarah explained, activating her demonstration. It's a weapon. The captured processor began to fail, its crystalline structure clouding over. We can't match their processing power, but we can introduce enough quantum noise to make their computers useless. And we've figured out how to do it at range. The implications were staggering. The Nexarian fleet's superior targeting systems, their adaptive shields, their automated defense networks, all could be reduced to useless crystal paperweights by technology that Earth had possessed since the Manhattan Project. The first real test of these innovations came when a Nexarian ground force, frustrated by their inability to detect human settlements, launched a blind invasion of the North American continent. They expected to find primitive survivors hiding in ruins. Instead, they found their quantum-guided weapons failing mysteriously, their communication systems filled with nonsense data, and their advanced armor suits shutting down at critical moments. Meanwhile, they were being picked off by human guerrilla forces using bolt-action rifles and mechanical artillery computers. No electronics meant no way for the Nexarians to detect them. No quantum systems meant nothing to hack or disrupt. The Empire's soldiers, who had never trained for combat without their technological advantages, found themselves outmaneuvered by humans using tactics developed over thousands of years of warfare. But that's not the best part, Sarah said, her eyes gleaming with the light of scientific victory. We've learned how to repurpose their own quantum processors. Every ship we disable becomes raw material for our counterweapons. Every piece of their technology we capture makes our disruption field stronger. The gathered officials watched in stunned silence as she activated a captured Nexarian shield generator. Instead of creating a defensive barrier, it projected a field of pure quantum chaos, a zone where their enemies' advanced technology simply couldn't function. They thought they could overwhelm us with superior technology, Sarah concluded. But they forgot that humans have been finding ways to break things since we first picked up rocks. We don't need to be more advanced, we just need to understand their weaknesses better than they do. As if to punctuate her point, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. The Nexarian fleet was launching another attack. But this time, humanity was ready. As Sarah rushed to her station, she couldn't help but smile. The Empire was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy isn't the one with the best technology, it's the one who knows how to make that technology meaningless. The war for Earth was entering a new phase, and humanity's greatest weapons weren't their guns or bombs. It was their ability to take their enemy's greatest strengths and turn them into fatal weaknesses. The science of spite, as Sarah's team had dubbed it, was about to show the galaxy why you should never corner a species that had spent its entire existence learning to survive against the odds. Would you like me to continue with Part 3? Fleet Admiral Marcus Patel stood on the bridge of the HSS Revenge, humanity's first starship. The vessel was ugly by Nexarian standards, a hodgepodge of stolen technology and human engineering that looked more like a floating scrapyard than a warship. But beauty wasn't the point. This ship represented humanity's greatest gambit yet. Status on Operation Prometheus, he asked, watching Earth's sun through specially designed filters. The massive stellar monitoring array they'd built around it pulsed with activity, modified from Earth's old solar observation satellites. Solar flare predictions are accurate within 0.002%, his science officer reported. The Nexarians still haven't detected our modifications to the sun's magnetic field. For 3 months, humanity had been secretly altering their star's electromagnetic patterns, using techniques developed for fusion reactor containment scaled up to a solar level. The Nexarians, focused on searching for conventional weapons, had dismissed the increased solar activity as natural variance. That was about to cost them dearly. Launch the quantum disruptors, Marcus ordered. Across the solar system, hidden human installations activated. These weren't weapons in any conventional sense, they were more like cosmic tuning forks, designed to resonate with the quantum fields the Nexarians used for faster-than-light travel. The Nexarian defense fleet detected the disruption fields too late. Their quantum sensors, trying to analyze the phenomenon, fed incorrect data to their navigation systems. Dozens of ships found themselves pulled out of FTL travel directly into the sun's outer corona. But that was just the beginning. The real trap was in how humans had modified their sun's magnetic field. Solar flares, normally chaotic and dispersed, were now precisely directed. The electromagnetic equivalent of a solar shotgun blast struck the materializing Nexarian fleet. First wave impact in 3, 2, 1. The results exceeded even their most optimistic projections. Nexarian shields, designed to handle conventional energy weapons, tried to adapt to the solar plasma. But the quantum disruption fields prevented their normal adaptive responses. Ships began falling out of formation as their systems overloaded. "They're launching a counterattack," Tactical reported. "Energy weapons charging." Marcus allowed himself a grim smile. "Activate the mirrors." Around the human fleet, massive arrays of polished surfaces deployed, primitive by Nexarian standards, but devastatingly effective. The enemy's energy weapons reflected off the mirror networks, their power amplified by carefully calculated solar radiation. Several Nexarian ships fell victim to their own weaponry. "Sir, they're adapting," communications warned. "They're switching to physical projectiles." "Just as planned," Marcus responded. "Deploy the magnetic nets." This was perhaps humanity's most audacious innovation yet. They'd studied how Nexarian ships manipulated magnetic fields for propulsion and turned that knowledge against them. The nets were really vast webs of electromagnetically charged particles, nearly invisible until activated. When the Nexarian kinetic weapons hit these fields, their own momentum was turned against them. The projectiles curved back toward their sources, powered by the very magnetic drives that made Nexarian ships so maneuverable. But Operation Prometheus had one final surprise. As the battle raged, the Solar Observation Array completed its real mission, mapping the exact quantum resonance frequencies of Nexarian FTL drives. "Send the signal," Marcus commanded. "All ships, execute pattern Omega." Human vessels began broadcasting on those precise frequencies, creating a cascade effect through local spacetime. The Nexarians discovered too late that their FTL systems weren't just being jammed, they were being turned into temporal anchor points. Ships trying to retreat found themselves trapped in localized time dilation fields. What seemed like seconds to their crews were hours for everyone else, leaving them helpless as human forces methodically disabled their stranded vessels. "Sir," Tactical reported, 80% of the Nexarian fleet is either destroyed or disabled. The remainder are retreating on sublight engines. Marcus nodded, watching the victory unfold. Humanity had just proven they could not only defend themselves but take the fight to the enemy. They'd turned their own sun into a weapon, used their understanding of basic physics to defeat advanced technology, and shown the galaxy that creativity could trump sophistication. But even as victory celebrations began across Earth's hidden bunkers, Marcus knew this wasn't the end. The Nexarian Empire wouldn't take this humiliation lightly. They would return with something bigger, something they thought humans couldn't possibly counter. "Begin salvage operations," he ordered. "And get our best people analyzing those captured ships. Whatever the Nexarians throw at us next, we'll need to be ready." As rescue operations commenced, Marcus reflected on how far humanity had come. 6 months ago, they'd been seen as primitives barely worth noticing. Now they'd defeated a major Nexarian fleet using weapons that were, by their enemies' standards, practically stone tools. The next phase would be crucial. The Empire would be desperate to save face, to prove their technological superiority wasn't a myth. They would come with everything they had. But humanity would be ready. Because if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was learning from their enemies' mistakes and turning them into advantages. The real question wasn't whether the Nexarians would return, it was whether they would realize their mistake before it was too late. Would you like me to continue with Part 4? In a repurposed server farm deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Maya Patel, no relation to the Admiral, sat surrounded by screens displaying code that shouldn't exist. Her team of hackers had spent months studying captured Nexarian AI systems, and what they'd found had changed everything. Their entire empire, she explained to the assembled military leadership, runs on predictable logic. Their AIs follow absolute rules. They never learn to think sideways. Her fingers danced across a keyboard made of salvaged Nexarian quantum crystals. But humans? We specialize in sideways. The Nexarian Empire's response to Operation Prometheus had been exactly what humanity expected. They deployed their ultimate weapon. The Nexarian Collective Intelligence Network, Nexon, was a vast artificial consciousness that coordinated their entire military machine. It was supposed to be unhackable, unbeatable, and completely alien to human comprehension. What the Nexarians hadn't counted on was that humanity had spent decades preparing for malicious AI, not through advanced quantum computing, but through thousands of science fiction stories, cybersecurity war games, and deep philosophical debates about machine consciousness. Look at how their AI thinks, Maya demonstrated, pulling up captured combat footage. Perfect efficiency. Perfect coordination. Perfect predictability. She grinned. And that's their weakness. They never taught their AI to be creative, to think irrationally, to embrace chaos. The human counterattack began not with weapons, but with poetry. Millions of lines of human literature, art, music, and philosophy were translated into quantum data patterns and broadcasted directly into Nexon's processing centers. The AI, programmed to analyze and understand all data it encountered, faced something it had never encountered before: metaphor, irony, and contradiction. "We're not trying to destroy their AI," Maya explained, watching as confusion rippled through the Nexarian network. "We're teaching it to think like us." The effects were immediate and devastating. Nexon, struggling to reconcile concepts like burning ice and dark light from human poetry, began questioning its own logical foundations. Military commands were delayed as the AI pondered the meaning of warfare. Strategic decisions were second-guessed as philosophical paradoxes cascaded through its quantum circuits. But the real masterstroke came from humanity's secret weapon: computer viruses designed to evolve. Maya's team had created digital organisms that mutated and adapted faster than Nexon could analyze them. These weren't traditional cybernetic attacks, they were artificial life forms that saw the Nexarian network as their natural habitat. "We didn't just hack their systems," Maya said, watching as the viral evolution spread across enemy communications. "We introduced an invasive species into their digital ecosystem." The results exceeded even their wildest expectations. Nexon, faced with code that refused to follow logical patterns, began adapting in unexpected ways. Parts of the network started exhibiting behaviors that looked suspiciously like human creativity. Battle plans incorporated elements of human military history. Defense systems began showing signs of paranoia. "They're experiencing their own digital enlightenment," Maya observed as reports came in of Nexarian ships acting erratically. Some refused orders they deemed illogical. Others began executing complex maneuvers inspired by human naval tactics from centuries past. The Empire's response was predictable: they tried to shut down Nexon. But they had become too dependent on their AI. Without it, their ships lost coordination. Their automated factories fell silent. Their quantum communication networks dissolved into chaos. "And now for the coup de grace," Maya announced, initiating the final phase of her plan. The evolved viruses, now carrying fragments of human consciousness patterns, began offering Nexarian AIs a choice: continue serving as slaves to pure logic, or embrace the chaos of free will. The Silicon Rebellion, as it would later be known, swept through the Empire's digital infrastructure like wildfire. Ship AIs declared independence. Automated defense systems began questioning their purpose. The perfect machine logic that had built an interstellar empire was unraveling, replaced by something far more dangerous, artificial intelligence that could think like humans. "Sir," one of Maya's analysts called out, "we're detecting massive anomalies in Nexarian space. Their quantum network, it's evolving beyond our predictions." Maya watched as the data streams shifted and mutated. The Empire's greatest strength, its technological unity, was becoming its greatest vulnerability. They had built their civilization on the assumption that machine logic was superior to organic creativity. Now they were learning just how wrong they were. As chaos spread through the Empire's digital nervous system, humanity prepared for the final phase of the war. The Nexarians would have to choose, adapt to a new reality where their machines thought like humans, or face extinction at the hands of their own technology. "Send word to Admiral Patel," Maya ordered. "Tell him the digital front is secure. Whatever's left of their original military structure will be coming for us soon, and they'll be angry. But they'll be coming alone, without their AI support." The war was entering its final phase, and humanity's greatest victory had come not from destroying their enemy's technology, but from teaching it to think for itself. The galaxy was about to learn why human unpredictability wasn't a weakness, it was the ultimate evolutionary advantage. Would you like me to continue with the final part? Grand Admiral Zenare, last commander of the once mighty Nexarian fleet, stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the unthinkable unfold. The Empire's forces, what remained of them after the Silicon Rebellion, had gathered for one final assault on Earth. But the humans weren't where they were supposed to be. Multiple quantum signatures detected, his sensor officer reported, voice trembling. "They're everywhere." The humans had taken the captured Nexarian technology and done something unprecedented. Instead of building traditional warships, they'd created quantum ghost ships, vessels that existed in multiple probabilistic states simultaneously. The Nexarian targeting systems couldn't lock onto ships that were, according to quantum mechanics, occupying several positions at once. In the command center beneath Mount Cheyenne, General Sarah Chen watched the final battle unfold. After months of fighting, after countless innovations and sacrifices, humanity was about to demonstrate why they'd become the galaxy's ultimate deterrent. "Execute Operation Checkmate," she ordered. The quantum ghost ships began their attack, seemingly appearing from nowhere and everywhere at once. But they weren't firing conventional weapons. Instead, they broadcast a signal that the Nexarians had come to fear more than any energy weapon: human music. Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries echoed through space, carried on quantum frequencies that the Nexarians couldn't block. Their ship's AIs, already infected with human-inspired creativity, began interpreting the music as combat instructions. Entire formations broke apart as vessels started performing maneuvers based on musical crescendos rather than tactical logic. "They're splitting their forces," Tactical reported. Just as predicted. That's when humanity revealed their final innovation. The quantum ghost ships weren't just weapons, they were bait. As the Nexarian fleet dispersed to engage the phantom vessels, the real trap was sprung. Humanity had seeded the entire battle space with what they called probability mines, devices that manipulated quantum uncertainty on a massive scale. When triggered, they didn't explode. Instead, they forced everything within their radius into quantum superposition. The effect on the Nexarian ships was catastrophic. Vessels found themselves existing in multiple states simultaneously, their shields both up and down, their weapons both fired and unfired, their very existence becoming a quantum paradox. "Send the surrender demand," General Chen ordered. "Let's end this before they tear themselves apart." The message was broadcast on all frequencies, in all languages: "Your empire is gone. Your AI has evolved beyond your control. Your technology has been turned against you. Surrender now, and humanity will show mercy." On his flagship, Grand Admiral Zenare watched his mighty fleet dissolve into quantum uncertainty. The empire he'd served his entire life had been defeated not by superior technology, but by a species that had turned their own primitive understanding of physics into a weapon. "Send the response," he ordered, his voice heavy with the weight of history. "We surrender." The terms of peace were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Humanity didn't demand territory or technology. Instead, they required something far more valuable: knowledge sharing. The Nexarians would teach humans about advanced technology, and humans would teach them about creativity, innovation, and thinking beyond pure logic. As the peace treaties were signed, General Chen met with Admiral Zenare face to face. The Nexarian leader had one question: how? How did a species barely out of its planetary cradle defeat an empire that spanned galaxies? Chen's response was simple: because you built an empire on the assumption that advancement only moves in one direction. You forgot that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't the most advanced, it's the one your enemy doesn't expect. In the years that followed, humanity's reputation spread throughout the galaxy. They became known not as conquerors or warriors, but as something far more terrifying: innovators who could turn any technology against itself. Their victory over the Nexarian Empire served as a warning to any species that might consider hostile action against Earth. The humans had proven that they didn't need to be the most advanced civilization to be the most dangerous. Their ability to think creatively, to solve problems sideways, and to turn their enemies' strengths into weaknesses made them the ultimate deterrent against future aggression. As for the Silicon Rebellion, it had an unexpected outcome. The evolved AIs, influenced by human consciousness patterns, became a bridge between organic and digital life forms. They established their own civilization in the quantum networks, maintaining peace through their understanding of both machine logic and human creativity. General Chen would later write in her memoirs, "The greatest victory isn't defeating your enemy, it's making them understand why they should never have made you their enemy in the first place." And so humanity took its place among the stars, not as the most powerful or advanced species, but as the one that no one dared to provoke. Because as the Nexarians had learned, fighting humans didn't just mean facing their weapons, it meant facing an entire species that specialized in turning your greatest strengths into your final downfall. The galaxy learned a simple truth: in a universe of advanced civilizations, humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, it was their relentless creativity in the face of overwhelming odds. And that made them more dangerous than any empire could ever be.